copy? Did you copy Mark there, Will?
He was Q2. Yeah, Mark, I didn't understand anything you said. Your signal is way down. John, AA6RF didn't copy you at all because it came in over you. So I don't know what you can do there, Mark, to improve the situation. Let me turn it back to you for a moment, and then hopefully on the second round we can get all your wit and wisdom that we couldn't understand. Go ahead, Mark.
Is this any better?
A little bit.
That's the other radio, but I'm on my vertical comet, but with all the rain we've had, I may very well have some water in this old coax. This coax is overdue for replacement, so just give me 1 second here. And how about this?
Oh my God, S9 full quieting.
All right, yeah, this coax is probably needing replaced. I just switched over to the 991 coax, so that's probably something to put on my to-do list, maybe to do someday, maybe.
Anyway, reconstitute what you said. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure Gary heard me. I don't know if Don did, but I just mentioned that if they had a lightning strike up there, they may have had an issue with something somewhere in the metallics on the tower or just about anywhere getting burned or tarnished, and they may have made a diode, so they may be part of their problem with picking up the AM station, although sounds like Gary has pretty much got the stuff off of being connected metallically as far as the laptop and the radio, other than, of course, the antenna. So I'm sure Don has tons of experience with that kind of problem. I know we had it a couple of times, and it was really difficult to fix. Second in horrors to intermod problems. So, but I'm sure they'll get it sussed out. So that's about it, Will. AA6DD, AG6ZR.
AG6ZR, AA6DD. Yeah, I've seen those diode problems lots of times. Rich, W6BRC. John, W7RSO. So what bands are you planning on being on out there? I guess you didn't hear my question. We'll get it this next time around. Let's see if Doug is out there in N6ODF.
Good morning, Will, and everyone on the net. This is Doug N6ODF in Corona. For Mark's information, I had him S6 or so, S7 with his vertical, and 10 over S9 when he swapped the coax over. Anyway, I'm blessed with a real low noise level this morning, and I can copy everyone 5 by. So anyway, I haven't been on the bands much. I've been playing a little bit, trying to get my long wire antenna up a little bit higher and get it tuned better. I'm trying to get a 80 through 6 out of the thing with a 9-to-1 balun. I probably don't have enough length. I've got 55 feet on it now. I probably need to get it out to at least 70 feet or so. Anyway, just a little dinking around with antennas, and that's about all I have to report here. So back to you, Will. N6ODF.
Very good, Don. Let's see if Dana's with us. N7UFT. Okay, let's go to John, AA6RF.
Yeah, AA6RF to the group, and sorry, Mark, I couldn't hear you at all, and I spoke up. I thought nobody was there, but we cleared that up, and you figured out the problem. Not a whole lot on this end. I went over to Will's on Saturday. Let's see, no, it was on Friday, and we put up his antenna on the fold over. I'll let Will talk about that. And yesterday on 10 meter, in the evening, I made a couple experienced some backscatter on 10 meter, and I made a contact to Rarotonga, friend Jim in Rarotonga. I talk to him quite often, so that was the backscatter focus. So there was kind of neat to see backscatter from San Jose and Phoenix. I could hear them on 10 meter where no one else could hear except the guy in Rarotonga. So anyway, Will, I don't want to elaborate too much, but I'll let you talk about your the VG4 antenna and the issue that we had, and we'll get it resolved soon. So AA6RF back to net control.
Yeah, John has a photograph of what we did with the VG4 and the mounting system, in case anyone wants to see that. And we put it together. It covers 10, 15. It's a halfway vertical with a counterpoise at the bottom and fed with toroid transformers, very similar to an R6000 or an R5 in general construction, except these counterpoises are a lot smaller, though there are a lot of them. And initially we tuned it up, and we had John changed the settings, got it really sweet on each band in the areas we wanted it, put it up, and it all measured great. But later on in the evening, after I ran coax to it, we're inside the house, and the wind gust came up. I was measuring 10 meters was good, and 15 was good, and 20 was good, and 40 was good. And when I'm looking at 40 meters, all of a sudden the SWR starts bouncing around. I went to 20, and it was bouncing around. Went to 15 and 10, and it was perfectly stable. And then I went back to 20 and 40, and it was totally broke. No bouncing anymore, just bad all the time. So we saw, whatever it was, we saw it go, which is probably the 20-meter trap is what we speculate was the problem on it. Also, John we really appreciate John taking us down to the eye doctor for our checkup, and she was happy with my progress on my eye, so that was all good as well. Any comments there, John, again?
No, well, I guess one quick comment. We're going to resolve the problem tomorrow or the next day. I bought 2 antennas, so I'm going to take a trap over to Will's, and we're going to throw that on there and see if it fixes the problem, which I think it will, and then I'll try to deal with the warranty and stuff and get another trap so I can make my antenna work. But that's one good thing about having 2 antennas. You got spare parts, and I'm not going to put my antenna up for a while, so the spare part to Will to get his up and running. Actually, both antennas were in my name when I bought it, so the warranty will be under mine, so I need to get Will's antenna fixed. and we're going to do that well, we've got it scheduled for Tuesday, so that should be no problem on Tuesday.
Okay. And yeah, I do wanted to expand a little bit more on backscatter for those who may or may not be familiar with it. One of the most common backscatters is off the transequatorial DX. So you can get backscatter off of any kind of ionized mode, can give you backscatter. But backscatter modes are here god-awful weak. You know, they're 40, 60 dBs down from the forward scatter signal level. But if you have enough power or you're running Fox Tango 8, you don't even know it. You're just working all these people who don't know what's happening. But you're working backscatter quite often, or you may be working backscatter. That the band's not even open to some kind of propagation, but that might exist. Anyway, when you hear it on sideband phone, first off, for transequatorial, it will always be towards the south, not due south, but you know, a someplace south, depending on the angle of the backscatter. And so, and the signals will be very weak, and usually, but not always, there'll be a little vibrato sound on the signal, and not so that it's distorted, you can't understand it on sideband, but still, you'll know it's not perfect sounding audio. So, but it's not their transmitters; they're not distorted. It's actually the backscatter that actually modulates it a little bit. And but the key to hearing it and working it, and you will, everybody here may have a good chance over the next 2 years hearing it on 6 meters. It's quite often on 10 because we have so much more, you know, transequatorial on 10. And but it sounds exactly the same on 6 when you hear it. It's always very weak. And in general, I always tell people, you know, on 6 meters, in order to work all the weak modes that we hear here on the phone, at least obviously you can drop the power down if you're on a Fox Tango 8. But you really need about 400 watts of actual RF, and then another 6 to 10 dBs of antenna gain. So you have a minimum of 1,000 watts ERP. Once you go over 1,000 watts ERP, you can work multi-hop Spraticke fairly effective, and you can work F-layer backscatter, and some of these other unusual modes is what's required. Any comments, John, and then we'll move along.
No, you explained it well. Well, you explained it well for me, Will, because I'm familiar with it. Someone else, it might be a little confusing, but at least you got their curiosity if they didn't understand it.
All right, let's see if Chris is out there, KF6LEX. John, KU6X.
All right, everybody, John KU6X here. I don't know if I need this amplifier. Let me turn the amplifier on and see if it helps anybody here. Do I need the amplifier, Will?
I don't know, Jim, YOS, did that amplifier help? He's down doing the coffee.
I'll leave it on a second. Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, that's all real interesting stuff. Yeah, I remember hearing backscatter and when I was a kid, a fair amount, and some characteristic sound to the signals, as I remember. I've not been doing too much else of any sort around here. Just kind of watching what's going on with my heart here, and nothing particularly bad. I'll have to talk to Mark about this, but I got a monitor on my chest right now, so another week to go before I can take it off. I don't think the high power will do anything to it, but we'll see. Very good there on Jim on the tubes. Yeah, I just went on. I haven't sold tubes on eBay for years now, but of course the holy grail among tubes, if you're so interested, are the Telefunken 12AX7s, and where they have the smooth plates or the rib plates or whatever, it's all black magic, and the black magic is still going on with all the audio files here. So when I bring tubes out, audio tubes out to the swap meet the last 2 times, the guys just jump all over those suckers, and I sell them real cheap too. So it's fun to see them go because they're going to some good hands there. Let's see, I don't think I have too much else here. Oh yeah, are those traps? Can you check them with a grid dipper? Is there a window in them where you can couple to the coil, or maybe just capacity couple to them with a grid dipper and see if they're working right? But substitution will solve the problem. But I don't think it doesn't sound like you've been running high enough power there to really cause them to burn out. Anyway, that's it for me, Will. AA6VD-KU6X.
Yeah, just my Comet analyzer is the only thing that's been on it. There's been no power at all. And yes, it looks like a standard trap where you could dip it capacity coupled at the high voltage point, I think. But we also have the substitute thing, and so anyway, we'll look. It was pushed together by John, and so the hose clamp is really close. So I'm not sure the hose clamp could be shorting it out. That's a possibility, because it was really up in there tight. But I don't know. That's just me speculating. But something definitely did happen. The wind did move and did make some drastic change. And the change was more on 20 meters than it was on 40. So that makes me, in other words, I'm 98% sure it's the 20-meter trap. John, go ahead.
Yeah, how are those things constructed? What are they used for capacitor? They just use like the Cushcraft with the outer sleeve forming the capacitor?
QSL.
Alrighty. Okay, folks. Well, it should be not terribly difficult to track down. That's it, Will.
All right. Do we have any late, missed, or visitor check-ins? Call signs, please.
Yeah, one comment real quick.
John, go ahead, and TT, stand by.
Yeah, the fold-over mount that Will put up, it makes it really easy to put up and pull down that antenna. Yeah, you didn't go over your antenna. We'll do it on the next go-around, Will, but the fold-over mount you made for that antenna makes putting that antenna up and down really simple, so it's going to be an easy fix. It just may take a little bit of time.
Okay, John, very good. Let's go to Tom. How's it going out there in Hemet, Tom? AJ6TT. Okay, is his brother a ham? very good, very good. Well, maybe that all sounds good. With that, do we have any other late missed or visitor check-ins before we go up to Jim? WA6YOS, AA6DD.
AA6DD in the net, WA6YOS, Jim in Westminster again. Well, I can hear most of the guys okay. A little more noise than I thought there was at the beginning, but that sometimes happens on this net. And John, yeah, I can hear you without the amp, but I got to listen more closely. You're kind of at the level there with some of the other guys I hear, where I can copy like maybe 80%, so I can pretty much put it together and make sense of what they're saying. But I do miss certain words. But when you have the amp on, it's super solid. However, don't injure yourself by leaving the amp on. I don't want you to do that. So, and yeah, we all got to deal with our various medical problems as we get older. And my mother, who is now 90, is having things here and there that I'm spending a fair amount of time taking her places and having people look at her and so on and so forth. So I know about that indirectly and directly as well. So far I'm holding up myself pretty well, which is nice because there's only the two of us, so if one of us gets out of commission, or if I get out of commission, it's bad news for her. Anyway, things happen, neighbors die and move away, and we've never had a lot of close relatives anyway who live anywhere near us, so they're of no help in that situation. Anyway, this morning I usually listen to NPR when I get up for a half hour or so, 20 minutes, whatever it is. And they have a puzzle every Sunday morning, and different kinds of word puzzles, and occasionally they're math puzzles, but generally it's a word puzzle sometimes. And one of the clues this morning was, actually the answer was ham radio, which I was a little surprised. You just don't hear it come up too much in general media, but I think the clue was something like hobbyists use their own equipment to communicate with each other over long distance. And the answer was ham radio. So that was kind of nice to hear. Let's see. Yeah, the tubes there, John. The audio people. I guess they're used to paying higher and higher prices. I have seen output tubes on the internet that are hundreds of dollars, like $400 to $500 for one output tube. Although generally they like to sell matched pairs, because then they double the price and for the testing. They double the price and then add something for the testing, for the matching. But yeah, it is kind of insane, and I've watched enough YouTube videos now. In fact, I've pretty much stopped watching them. Some of the stuff is so outrageous, and I don't know why they feel necessary to have these long demonstrations on YouTube where they show you how something sounds. I mean, it makes no sense at all. Not only are you listening to your equipment, but you're listening to whatever the recording in YouTube does to audio. And I know years ago there was complaints about YouTube changing the audio. People would post things, and then when they would call it up to play it back later, the audio would sound horrible, or distorted, or the level was off, or there's something wrong, something had changed in the audio. So I don't know how YouTube does all that stuff, but and of course a lot of it sounds quite good. So I guess they have all these different standards for audio when you upload something, depending on what kind of file it is and so forth. I don't really want to get into too much of that. And yeah, I guess, you know, the couple times I've thought about going on and trying that remote receiver have been times when there's been problems with it. So I guess if it's up and running again now, I can make an attempt to play around with that a little bit. I have been enjoying a lot of stuff on BBC Sound, which is the place you go to get all the all the BBC sound. And right now the proms, as they're called, the summer concerts on the BBC are there for a couple of months, and it's really nice to have those things in the background while you're doing something, and very pleasant presentations of classical music and other music as well. So I've been having kind of fun with that. Last time I measured my internet, I think it came up 390 megabits per second. So I don't know if, you know, the internet all you guys have, I don't know if that's considered slow or fast or whatever. I did see some comment online about something I had sent somebody, and they had mentioned that, yeah, Jim has slow internet. And I'm going, okay, well, I thought 390 was pretty good, but hey, maybe it's nothing these days. I don't know. But what would I use the extra speed for? How would it really help me? I don't know that it would. So another world out there, the online connected world, which is a thing unto itself. Anyway, everybody have a good week. It looks like it may warm up a little bit by next weekend, but I think we're going to get through this summer without any super horrible heat waves. At least none are going to affect all the way down to the coast. So that'll be nice. And as always, I'm looking forward to fall. AA6CD, WA6YOS.
Okay, very good, Jim. I was just looking at my notes here. Something I put down for. I told everybody about the Kenwood HT, the replacement for their HT-D70 or something it was. They're coming out with an HT-D75 shown at the Tokyo Ham Fair in August. And they said it would be available first of next year. And there's a lot of hams who like that radio and will buy the upgraded one. They're quite expensive. They're $600-$700 type price bracket, and they're 2 meters, 220 and 440. But they have all these other, I guess, sexy features. But anyway, it's out of my price range. The other thing, the other two things that were shown at the ham fair was the AOR receivers, which are very expensive, and they have an AOR DV10, and basically it's a handheld receiver that covers 100 kilohertz to 1300 megahertz, and has all the digital modes in it. You know, D-Star, you name the digital demodulation mode, it has all of them. And then Linko is coming out with something somewhat equivalent to that will have all the different digital modes in it. And I think the Alinco model number will be the DJ100. I couldn't get the whole model. I couldn't figure out the whole thing, but it was a DJ100. Whereas the something, like I said, there may be some other letters in there that I have missing from my notes here. All right. Well, enough on that. Well, let me turn to Jim for any comments, then we'll go on.
Okay, Will. Yeah, boy, I haven't thought about handhelds in a long, long time. The newest one I have here that's still, I haven't even picked it up in ages. I suppose it's usable unless the battery's gone south. It is made by Alinco, and it's basically 2 meters and 440, and I think that's it. It may receive, way beyond that. I just don't remember. But I used that thing when I used to go to the swap meets with Leroy Sparks. We keep in touch with that, and he had, I believe, he had so many radios over his lifetime, but I think he had another Alinco handheld that was smaller. This thing is not, that I've got, is not that small, and it's heavy too. That's the one thing I noticed when I first got it. It seemed a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, I guess they're all out making neat stuff. And AOR, I have a weird scanner, and I don't think mine is the standard brand, but I believe AOR made a copy of this, or it's the same actual scanner, and it has a little spectrum display on it. It's kind of fun. It's not a great receiver, but I mean, I've played around with the spectrum display, and we're doing some tests and things. But yeah, I believe I found, like, I had to find a manual for the AOR because I couldn't find one for the standard brand of the same thing. But yeah, so I guess AOR is still out there. Well, that's nice to know that some companies that I've heard of in my ham radio past are still extant. Anyway, that's it for me. Everybody have a good week, and stay as cool as you can. AA6DD, WA6YOS.
Okay, back to Tom, AJ6TT. Okay, Roger, on the flares going off there, Tom. Let's go to, we have Don, K6DLP.
Yeah. Gary, I wonder if that DSP was able to keep it out, or like Mark was saying, we got possibly a grounding hiccup there or something. I am going to take that, I said that lightning arrestor, we'll take some ground wire. The antenna actually checked out at 2.5 to 1, so probably have to climb and double check that and check it right under the antenna. I don't think it's in the coax anywhere, but some coax ground kits, a few other things like that. Yeah, I couldn't listen to it anymore this morning. It just got too irritating. But that's about it for right now. Still pretty busy doing my regular two-way stuff, and vastly trying to hurry up and get this done. That's it, K6DLP.
Okay, Don, let's go to Gary, and W6RYO.
Yeah, W6RYO. Yeah, one thing I've decided that whenever we go on the hilltop, we have to have somebody on the ground that's coordinated, because we couldn't hear it up there, and I don't know that I put it on the AM when we were up there. So, you know, I should have called John, KU6X, but my cell phone doesn't work up there. But it's weird. From all my analysis, it's got to be coming into the AM detector in the radio, and also some other rectification somewhere. Because on FM it's there, but it's real weak. As soon as you go to AM, you say you can't listen to it. It's too high. And so, yeah, you change the volume. I don't think it's getting into the cables. I don't think it's getting into the audio stage through the cables. So there's something weird going on. But, you know, hey, works for FM, so, you know, we can use it on the 60-meter net. SSB sideband seems to be fine. So, anyway, you know, there's always something. No rush at all. It's there. So one other interesting thing, story. I've got a solar power on my house that was installed in 2010, so it's 13 years old. And they used a Fronius converter, which came out of Germany, which I would never recommend dealing with that company ever. But in the beginning of August, it went to, I stopped producing, and it had an error of 467, I think it is. And look it up, and it says, the brain board is not communicating with the display board. So, okay, that's simple. You know, so I tried to order a brain board and a display board, and, you know, of course, they wouldn't sell it to me. I had to get somebody to work with me that, you know, actually I had a solar company. They were just an absolute pain in the ass to deal with. So anyway, the boards finally came, put them in, and it didn't fix it, which kind of left it with, and trying to find somebody who's qualified to work on those things is impossible. You know, I finally got a call back from somebody over a week later. So I looked at it. I was, you know, working on just replacing it, you know, putting the system in, and I just said, you know what, last ditch, a Hail Mary, right? So I pulled it apart. There's a back plane, and then there's plug-in boards. The brain board's one of them, and there's some other option boards. So I stripped the thing down. I pulled the back plane out, which, you know, means disconnecting a lot of hot solar wires. So I was real careful with that. Put it on the bench, and I'm linked to a socket for the brain board, and I'm looking at the socket for the ribbon cable going to the display, and I see a group of 3 traces going over there. So I tried tracing them out, you know, make a short story long. One of them had a through hole going through the board, and then about an inch later coming back up, and I had a connection at the through hole, but not after the through hole. So I put a jumper on the back of the board, fired it up, and it's working perfectly. So that is, I've actually written up something and sent to them, but that had to be a manufacturing defect. It has to be that through hole was not plated, and something like, you know, when they flow soldered it, got a little thread in there or something that after time went out. So that's the story of my solar. So it's back up and running without spending thousands of dollars to replace everything. So yeah, I think that's about it. So what? Nothing else we talked about. Yeah, like I say, the remote's usable on FM and sideband. So like next time we just make sure we have somebody on the ground, because, you know, so we can do all the testing. All right, that's about it for me. So everybody have a great week. The weather is gorgeous. A little humid for me, but it's gorgeous. So that's it. Unless anybody's got any questions. Oh, one more thing. The trap. If they're built like the high gain and those, it's the outer tube is the capacitor, and it's just connected usually at the top with one screw. A big problem with those over time is they get a little corrosion there. Well, if that screw isn't tight, then that outer capacitor is making and losing connection, and that could very well do what's happening. And they just put a plastic caps on the end. You pop them up, and under there's a screw. I'm sure they do it the same. So that's the first thing I'd look at, guys. So, all right, A6DD and the group. Everybody enjoy W6R oil.
Hey, next time we go up there, remind me, and I'll give you the password to the Wi-Fi for telephone.
QSL, thank you.
have Kim. K6YYL, go ahead. Okay, real good on those numbers. So any exciting contacts recently on 10 or something, go ahead. Oh, that's impressive. What antenna were you using to do all that? Okay, very good, very good. So basically you were mobile. All right. We'll go down through everybody else, and then when we get back to you, maybe at the end, if you want to add something at the end, we'll do that. It's Mark's turn, AG6ZR.
AA6TD in the group, AG6ZR. Yeah, circuit boards and manufacturers, any of us design circuit board and have it made by one of the little houses. We go kind of fat on the copper. The through-hole stuff is especially touchy, and then manufacturers, of course, want to save money and go as skinny as they possibly can, even allowing for RF design where that starts to become a factor with trace sizes and stuff. Still, I look at a bunch of stuff I tear down, and it's kind of like you wonder, I don't know, it's obviously got traces and the through holes are there, but man, they sure go skinny on the copper on those things, but so be it. And yeah, John, the hi-fi tubes, I know we've talked about the 45s. Those guys, they love those old triodes, and I still remember the 45s are like such a big deal with those guys, and all the stuff they carry on about the various tones and audio qualities and all that stuff. Kind of reminds me of the people who are crazy about wine and all the stuff they carry on about wine. It's pretty funny to me. So that's about it. I read an interesting book this last week called Empire of the Sum, SUM as in mathematics, and written by a guy named Keith Houston. He goes into, it's basically about the whole history of counting and using devices to count, starting with your hands and going through these things developed by Mesopotamia, counting sticks and tokens, the Romans, and actually the Babylonians first with these things called counting sticks, notch sticks, and of course the abacus, and then the log rule, thanks to Napier, and then that became the slide rule. And then of all things, the first mechanical calculators after mechanical clocks. And who was involved in that but Blaise Pascal? He was like pretty much one of the first 2 or 3 guys to build a calculator. Another thing he did, Leibniz built one too later. So, and then they go into the electronic calculators, and a lot of neat history about TI, Pat Hagerty and Jack Kilby, and a guy named Jerry Merriman, who actually, turns out calculators actually drove the miniaturization of ICs as much as anything else in the early days, because Kilby and Hagerty wanted a pocket-sized calculator, which was way out of range when they started, but they, of course, got there eventually. It's interesting, too, one of the pictures in the book is of a Regency TR1 as an example of the first ICs and the use that TI put them to, so that was kind of interesting. That's about it for me, Will. Hope everybody has a good week. Sounds like the sun's going to get a little bit noisy the next week or two, like I said before, so we'll see what happens. So AA6DD in the group, AG6ZR.
Okay, I didn't quite, my brain wasn't, that was all fascinating, but is this in a video someplace, or what are we talking about?
As far as the book?
Oh, it's in a book. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, it's called Empire of the Sum. Just came out, I think, a couple, 3 weeks ago. I saw it in a, I don't know, one of the science journals. They usually recommend a book or two every so often, and I came across it in there, so I thought, it sounds like the kind of nerdy thing I would be interested in, and it turned out to be a very good read.
Okay, fascinating. I'll keep out for that. I'm sure somebody will make a video on it. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. Might be a limited audience, but one of these days I'll give you the book and you can read it. Your eyes, I take it, are pretty stellar now, so you should be good to go.
No, they're not stellar at all, but that's okay. I can read it, but I got to put on binoculars. Go ahead. I mean, big binoculars.
Oh, well, I find I go out in the sunshine and I can see way better than I can in the house, so I know what you're talking about. AA6DD, AG6ZR.
Yeah, the young surgeon lady, I did make her happy, though, because I don't know, I guess maybe a lot of these old people just complain about how much it hurts and all that. But my improvement is such that I was right at the point of, it was really dangerous when I was driving out. I mean, really dangerous. I shouldn't have been driving. But now there's enough improvement in this one eye that they're both equally bad. But when I use them together, I can see far enough in front of me that it's not dangerous anymore. So I told her, that she had at least given me 3 years of being able to keep driving, and I was very thankful for that. And that made her really happy.
Well, that's definite progress in the right direction.
Yes. All right, where am I on here? Well, it's John's turn, W7RSO. Are you there, John? Okay. What's the biggest close city to your location out there? Yeah, I said, I want just a general idea where you're located out there. Are you near Phoenix or Flagstaff or what big area? Go ahead.
I think it's Prescott, isn't it, John?
We'll find out the information later. Thank you.
It's Prescott, isn't it, John? Yeah, Prescott there, Will.
Okay. All right. Well, this classic Hustler is a wonderful antenna, needless to say, and you're going to have a good counterpoise underneath it, so it's going to work great for you. Let's go to Doug in 60DF. Doug in 60DF. I'm back on the other antenna.
Yes, hi again, Will. This is Doug in 60DF. I could barely hear John in there, RSO, but I did copy him fairly well. Again, I have a good noise level here this morning, so I can copy down to about an S3 signal. So anyway, don't have really anything to report radio-wise other than my antenna adventures in the backyard. I'll be in the backyard today. I've got a little bit of an algae bloom. I've already wasted, I don't know, I've already used 4 gallons of chlorine. I probably need to do a couple more and lots of scrubbing. So Anyway, that's about all from here. So I'll just say 73 to all, and everyone have a great week. This is N6ODF.
Okay, Doug, you have a wonderful week. Let's go to John, AA6RF.
Yeah, AA6RF to the group. Not much else. I guess one thing I've been dabbling in is the astrophysicist Neil Tyson. I've been sending some stuff to Will and Gary, and we've been discussing him a little bit. He's kind of an interesting fellow to follow, and he's got a lot of nice, neat topics and stuff. He's been around a long time, and I've seen him a long time, but I've just been spending probably way too much time following him now. But for the last week or whatever, I've probably spent maybe 4 or 5 hours listening to his topics that he has. So anyway, Will, Gary, you mentioned something that you might have left the remote on AM. That may have something to do with it, because remember I told you if you put it on upper sideband and you transmit lower sideband, it comes through just fine, and vice versa. So there may be some correlation to the AM setting and the sideband settings, because it doesn't matter what sideband setting you have, it comes through and it decodes just fine, even if you're on the wrong setting. So just wanted to throw that out there. All right, Will, I've got nothing else to say. Go ahead and continue, and we'll let someone else speak.
Okay. Yeah, Neil Tyson videos are really fascinating, and he used to have big audiences that are the ones that are 4 or 5 years old. But the ones that are more newer, he has a sidekick, a comedic sidekick that really helps sort of go between the general public and what he's saying. And of course, he always brings on experts that know the field much better than he does, though he's very good at all of it. And John was saying he was doing one on radio signal propagation, and John was saying, "Gee, I know more than he does on this subject," which is fine. You can't know everything to the in-depth of each expertise, so that doesn't surprise me. Any comments, John?
Yeah, well, I kind of wish you hadn't said that, Will, but the guy is very sharp, and the stuff that he studies, I mean, boy, he's light years ahead of most people, but as an expertise, he's only an expert in a few subjects, and then I would say he's probably 95 or 96% above everybody else. But on the RF propagation, that's where he's lacking, but the astrophysics, I mean, he's right up there with the best of them. I mean, and he really explains stuff well. So that's the best part about it, is he knows how to communicate much better than I do. So anyway, Will, back to you, and then thanks for the backhanded compliment.
Okay. Also, ARL is publishing a new radio propagation book, edited by Ward Silver in 0AX. This will probably be one of the last books that he edits. He edits the handbook and the antenna book, but this is a propagation book. They were apparently doing a series of articles, and they ended up with from various experts on propagation, and he's compiled them together as a single book now, and it'll be like, radio wave propagation is simply the name of it, and that may not be the exact name, but it has some straightforward name on the title. So that's going into, I guess it's available now. It's now in print, is my understanding. All right, with that, let's go to John to tie the ribbons, KU6X.
Okay, everybody, John, KU6X here. Lots of interesting topics. I won't expand on any of those. Just as an aside, my daughter's husband's, it's sort of his grandfather turned 100 years old, and they had a birthday party in the Battleship Iowa, and they took his grandfather out of the hospital. He was on pretty heavily sedated. Took him out of the hospital and pumped him up with drugs, so he was able to go to his 100th birthday party with about 50 other people on the Battleship Iowa, which is a very interesting thing when you think about World War II battleships and how the Iowa had 16-inch guns with a 50 caliber, which means it's 80 feet long, and they could shoot and kill another battleship 80 or 24 miles away, which is mind-boggling. Anyway, that's it for me, Will. AA6CD, KU6X.
Yeah, my father served on the battleship Alabama and also other cargo ships, but he was on the Alabama. But yeah, the big those big guns could hurl a Volkswagen, 24 miles definitely.
Yep, that's about right.
Okay. Any comments, questions, anything from anybody?
Comment?
Comment, go.
Yeah, W6RYO, a couple of things came to mind here. Number one, we lost Jimmy Buffett last week, and he was quite an artist, but we all got to go sometime. And Mark, you were talking about this, calculators and the progression and where they came from. In 1969, I was working for Paul's TV, and he got a brand new mechanical calculator. He was so proud of that thing. And I said, oh, okay, well, put in a number. I said, now hit divide. I said, now hit 0, hit enter. And that stupid mechanical machine was bound and determined to solve that problem. He was pissed at me. Thought you get a kick out of that. That's it for me, guys. Everybody enjoy. W6RYO.
Oh, you got a little devil on your shoulder, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, I can be a little nasty occasionally.
Yeah, well, okay. That's funny. Okay. Well, I don't know why he did. He didn't stop and think. Yeah. Okay. I gotta do some other stuff today. So everybody enjoy W6RYO. Did you have to unplug it to stop it eventually?
Oh, we had to do a reset on it, yeah. Yeah, but that machine was bound and determined to come up with that answer.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it was that well designed.
Absolutely. Now you try that and they just give you the finger.
That's right. You what is that? That's right. So, all right. Let's see if Kim's got anything. K6YYL. Well, yes, it's nice out, so we'll get outside and see if we can't get a few things done out there. I've got lots of limbs that have fallen from the sky from the last storm. All right. Any late missed visitor check-ins? Any comments? Any questions before we shut her down? Hearing none, we clear the AM roundtable and QS flying to 50.300.
Yeah, Gary, you still there? AA6RF.